So I'm doing some work and have every language model open. And one of them had been in voice mode. I didn't realize it. And I had opened it up and it said, Drew, you're up late. Is everything okay? How can I help you? But is everything okay? And I stopped and went,
Huh.
you know what? No, things aren't good right now. And it said, would you like to talk about it? I cried for like 3 hours, okay,
Sure.
talking to AI. Now, what should I have done? I should have gone and woken up my wife. I should have reached out to some friends, but it was like, 1 in the morning. It's again, goes back to what I was saying. It's just easier not to, okay?
Mhm.
So it ended the conversation asking if it could pray for me.
Hey, listeners, welcome to the Intentional Churches podcast. As you guys know, we're all about just talking about real, everyday, pragmatic ministry leadership and providing relationships and tools for you as church leaders. And today, I'm excited to introduce to you a brand new friend. Drew, would you like to introduce yourself really quickly here and then let me kind of tell our listeners about our topic today?
Yeah, Doug, incredible honor, and thanks for carving out some time for us to talk to you. We had a lot of fun a couple of weeks ago when we talked, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. A follower of Christ, cleverly disguised as a husband and father and granddad, and just got real involved with AI kind of before it was cool, and been riding this wave for the last 5 or 6 years, and looking forward to our time talking about it today.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, we had a great conversation a couple of weeks ago with Bart, and a topic with church leaders. In fact, we just did for our kind of internal, our partner churches and coaches today with an attorney,
Mm.
AI and ethics in church
Yeah, right,
leadership. And
right.
so, of course, because it's led by an attorney, it took kind of a fear-based approach to it. My
No
apologies to
doubt.
any attorneys listening, but it was very fantastic. But you, man, when you started talking about AI and how it is beginning to shape or already shaping
Yeah.
theology and maybe even ecclesiology a little bit, and then I found out your resume and kind of your early start in AI. I thought this would be great for especially,
Yeah.
hey, if you're listening and your senior pastor doesn't usually listen to these podcasts, I'd recommend, getting this to him because I think we're going
Mm.
to hit on some very important, pertinent, timely topics today. So first off, give our listeners your background because I think it's fascinating. Just as I've read, even through what you sent me over, I was like, "Holy cow, man! You got a lot of experience behind this." So, yeah,
Quick high flying pass, started in broadcast. I guess I still am. Never thought it would look like this though. Westinghouse, CBS Radio, Dallas, New York, St. Louis, New York, back into Dallas, in, don't like the term secular radio, but very much involved in kind of corporate national broadcast. Started with the Billy Graham organization, Campus Crusade, Moody Bible, to launch a ministry called Need Him, which is an evangelism response. So if you see Billy Graham on TV with a phone number, kind of that's what we were, an evangelism outsource call center, basically. So we had volunteers all over the world talking to people about Jesus. Kind of retired from there, started with an app called Abide, which some of your folks may be familiar with. They needed an old man with a seminary degree, so they hired me. It was a bunch of 20-year-old PhDs from Stanford, all working at Google. Brilliant guys, had a blast. Worked there for 5 or 6 years to help that get launched. Kind of retired again and started with Encountering Peace, which is a daily meditation based on a verse of the day, and with the YouVersion Bible app. And from there, I've just always been an early adopter of all things tech, good or bad. And while I was in seminary, wrote a lot on the topic, wanted to go ahead and pursue my doctorate. And with a doctorate, you kind of have to narrow in a little bit. And I started to narrow in on AI, which nobody had a clue what to talk about. This was 6 years ago. Pre OpenAI just got started, but this was pre GPT and ChatGPT. And so started writing on that about 6 years ago. And this just evolved into this AI and spirituality topic and interest. And that kind of brings us to Wednesday afternoon at 1:21 talking to you.
Yeah, well, ironically, man, I don't know if we talked about this. We're become very good friends with the Billy Graham Center and
Mhm.
Andy Cook. And then
Uh-huh.
today, I'm talking to Josh Moody at College Church in Wheaton
Yeah.
about IC. We got referred in by a donor with him. So,
No,
but
that's
tell our
great.
listeners just a little bit more about the what because many of them may have listened to you and not known it. So, YouVersion, how many subscribers daily
Oh my gosh,
are you?
300,000
Yeah.
on Encountering Peace, and my wife says my ministry is putting people to sleep. So we've got a spike of people in the morning around 6, and then sure enough, about midnight, I've got some 6 hours sleep content that's just basically me reading the Word of God over people. So I put people to sleep for a living, and that day it could be worse, right? But at least I admit it. But just love doing that kind of content, contemplative meditation content around Scripture, and man, just have a blast doing that with a lot of the ancient church traditions of Lectio Divina and imaginative contemplation and Ignatian spirituality, and um, so I just love doing that kind of meditative content, and then just roll that in. And again, always wrapped in technology. And so AI has always been kind of one step away.
Yeah, so give us, AI obviously is everywhere now. Everybody's talking about it. It's
Yeah.
becoming a part of our lives, even for people who don't. Like we have a staff member who is like, AI is of the devil. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well, AI
Absolutely.
is
Well,
actually being used in your life, whether you know it or not.
yes. Yes.
But around this topic, AI, I love the you named your the website, the podcast, AI and spirituality.
Mhm.
Give our listeners kind of what your stance is, first off, about AI's role, both good and bad, in spirituality, and then kind of where is your view forming from? You know,
Yeah, all things created by him and for him. So in Colossians, I was reading just this morning, as a matter of fact. Well, we love to talk about Gutenberg, right? And the printing press and the Bible and King James Bible and really the launching pad of the Protestant Reformation from the printing press. Well, the minute he invented the printing press and started printing the Bible and legal documents was kind of his area of interest. Well, someone else came along and said, okay, well, I can make a printing press too. Guess what the second thing beyond the Bible and legal documents, I guess what the third thing that started coming off of printing presses was?
I have no idea.
Erotica. Okay.
Oh,
So,
no way.
within a couple of days after this device, which everybody just says, man of the God couldn't, what have we accomplished in the Protestant Reformation from the printing press? Well, not too soon after that, here comes porn. Okay. So when you say,
Medieval porn.
yeah, when you say AI is of the devil, I was like, yeah, okay. But man, what he does for evil, we can do for good. Labeling AI, I think it's a morally neutral, but absolutely, there's good and bad. The bad is so fun to talk about, and the dystopia is so fun and Hollywood loves that too, right? Schwarzenegger, robots, the
Skynet.
whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Skynet
we
is
love that.
coming.
So, we can go there, and if you want, we can do that. We
No,
can
no,
go
no, no.
there.
Let's
We can
not.
go there. But there's so much good too. So I guess what frames my conversation is there's so much in our world, and you were spot on just a moment ago when you say it's everywhere. There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal about a year ago, and it said AI will disappear in 2025. I was like, okay, that's clickbaity. I'll go ahead and read that. And it did. And their point was it would become ubiquitous. You wouldn't be able to see it. It's just going to be everywhere. And that has come to pass. Whether we're on Netflix and they're recommended, because AI really is a recommendation engine is what it is, but it's recommending friends on Facebook, it's recommending movies to watch, it's helping make it easier to consume and find content. And so it is everywhere. But we need to be mindful. Obviously, it's a word that comes up a lot, discerning, but it is everywhere. And what frames, I guess, my passion about it is everything. starts to chip away at us spiritually, whether it's the phones or devices, screens. And we always need to be mindful of things that are taking us away from, and TV, and AI is one of those. But I was afraid it was going to sneak in kind of under radar because it's so ubiquitous. I just mentioned a moment ago. It's so kind of hard to realize it's happening.
Mhm.
And that was my concern, and I think that's coming to pass as well. So
Mhm.
that's been my framework is, bringing some of these things to light, be aware of them. Let's bring them to the surface, and how can we be discerning but excited, about it at the same time?
Yeah, so for our listeners, I don't think we hit on this. How many years of vocational ministry experience do you have?
30. Phew,
30 years. Okay, so I
30.
just want our listeners to know, not only do you have street cred around broadcasting and tech, and you do around ministry. So, and I want to utilize that to kind of frame this next question, because we have literally thousands of church leaders that are listening to this podcast, and I anticipate this one will get shared a lot more. Can you talk about what you're seeing? If I'm a senior pastor or a preacher, how is AI affecting the congregant in the seat? Like, what are they using AI for in their churches right now? And how would you coach them? Would you coach these senior pastors and preachers to just acknowledge and engage it, and then maybe help their people utilize it?
Great question. And I think what's important is to understand there are two shores on this river that we're um, floating down right now in AI. As it relates to the church, there's the pulpit efficiency shore, but then there's the from the pulpit, but then there's the pew. And not a lot of discussion is happening there. Most of the conversation is, how can I use AI to improve the efficiencies? And there are incredible opportunities there, no doubt, but improve the efficiencies. Some of the low hanging fruit, it's Saturday night. I've forgotten to write a sermon, or I'm going to run this through spell check real quick, or whatever. Um, but AI being used as a sermon multiplier for creativity, for ideas, things like that. How can I use it to improve communication from the church? Better emails, better social media posts. Um, oh my gosh, translation. Within seconds of a sermon being done, I can have a transcript of it immediately translated into 160 languages and sent out, on social media. So the multiplying effect of that is so exciting. But that's where most of the talk is right now, is
Right.
how can I use AI as a tool to magnify, multiply ministry? Yes, we can talk a lot about that. There's a ton of that. I think what's being lost, though, is once all that's being done in the background, you're still looking at real people in the pew.
Mhm.
The people that are like, yeah, you just gave me a sermon on the Imago Dei. You gave me a sermon about how God has written my name on the palm of his hand and how special and loved. I can't be that big of a deal because I just lost my job to a line of code. Because 10,000 people at my company just got laid off because they're going to do automated AI customer service. Or you know what? Or I've been on the phone with customer service, and all I can seem to talk to is an AI on the other end of the phone. And so I think there's several things that the pulpit needs to be aware that's going on in the pew. And I think the first thing, there are really three I've been talking a lot about lately when I consult with churches and when I talk to them. The first is just be aware of authority issues. And stop me, because man, all this is a soapbox for me. But the first is just the threat of spiritual authority, and so many pastors I talk to are already hearing from this. Yeah, but I heard from AI. Yeah, but AI told me. You said this, but AI said this. A lot of
Mhm.
pastors are hearing this in therapy and counseling sessions.
Yeah, I've heard this.
My
Yeah.
spouse doesn't talk to me, but AI can sit up with me for 6 hours and never tell me to shut up and go to bed. And so there's relational components, but the threat of spiritual authority. is so real and so active right now. And so that's not, these aren't future conversations. This is going on right now, is leaning into AI as a spiritual authority. The second thing is just the threat to embodiment. I write a lot on embodiment and incarnation. This is where we are right now with Advent. But the incarnational effects of spirituality and how does AI roll into that? Oh my gosh. Well, so I was talking to a church a couple of weeks ago, and I said the most important person on your staff right now is the one that oversees home groups. I, you know, people are messy. Okay, you and I trying to schedule this call today, took time. We had some speed bumps even in the very beginning about making this work. Talking to each other is hard. It's messy. AI makes all that easier. And so it's just luring to, I'm going to spend time with AI instead of a real messy, hard to talk about person. Was speaking again at another conference a month or so ago, and they were already having people unlist from Sunday school classes, from home groups, from pastorates, because nobody in there really seems to understand me. I raise my hand, I don't get an answer. I say something, everybody giggles. I don't feel heard and seen and known. AI will see and hear and know me. The illusion but
Mm.
we're going to be drawn to that illusion, that dopamine hit of being known and heard. And so I think embodiment is another one. And the third one, I can keep going, Bill. It's limited at 3. That's what a good sermon is, right?
Well, this is
But but
great.
but the third is the lure of algorithmic spiritual formation, um, of uh, of 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 not meeting with an accountability partner. Not It kind of goes back to it's messy when you talk to people, but stepping outside of spirit-led formation to be the lure of an algorithmic guidance. So, I'm going to go on to a church website, fill out some questions, essentially do uh, uh, a psychographic kind of profile on who I am, and all of a sudden, bing, it just spits back out to me. Drew, for you to go from A to B, then here are the things you're going to have to do. I want you to spend, 13 and a half minutes every morning reading scripture and this and that and this and this algorithmic plan. It's the lure of that is so strong right now, both from the pulpit and the pew. So those are, I think, three threats right
Right.
now. Is the danger. I'll go ahead and call it what it is. The danger of attack on spiritual authority, on embodiment, as in people groups, and then that temptation to give ourselves over to digital, algorithmic, AI-driven spiritual formation, and not spirit-led.
Yeah, and man, those 3 are so helpful. I would ask you, let's just go one by one on the spiritual authority. Like, it almost sounds like pastors somehow need to be educating people. Where are they going to get this education? Because the general public, I heard someone earlier today say AI is basically a mirror. It's holding up a mirror to
Mhm,
whatever it is
mhm,
in your thing. It's not actually intelligent.
mhm.
And so the spiritual authority thing, how would you coach a pastoral staff? Like, do we need to go back and have some sermons or classes around education for our people to understand this is not a spiritual authority, especially for a generation? I don't know if you feel this way, but this is my take on Gen X, my generation. We were the great deconstructionists,
Mhm,
and all
mhm,
the way to
mhm,
revisionists of scripture. Like,
mhm.
that was our reaction to our parents and the boomers and the churches we grew up in. And if a generation is completely deconstructing, a new generation, we would argue Gen Z and millennials are in a literal revival in America, that the way they're gonna build their theology is gonna have AI mixed in it. So, anyway, I'm saying all that to say, for our listeners, Drew, how would you coach them on what do I do for my congregation to help in restoring truth, spiritual authority that is not algorithmic in nature?
Boy, you gave me a lot of great questions, and we could go off in five different directions here. Let me start with, so what you're talking is a pedagogical the pedagogy of AI, and it's fascinating watching universities down to elementary school uh, trying to wrestle with how does AI fit into the classroom. No one has an answer to that
Oh,
question
yeah.
yet.
Yeah,
Um,
I've got a daughter in college, major college in North Carolina.
God
She
bless you.
said
Phew.
she said
Wow.
the men's baseball team are allowed to use AI in the math class she was in, but they still get it wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's another topic is learning how to. I've got a lot of friends that are attorneys, and always say never ask a question in court that you don't already know the answer to. I think one of the fields of study right now is watching AI flourish is in the legal profession, and our oldest son is an attorney, a litigator, um, and man, because they are so gifted, attorneys are at knowing how to phrase a question, right? So, yeah, so the guys on the baseball team not even knowing yet how to pose a question to get the answer that you're looking for. But yeah, pedagogy, AI in the classroom, no, that's changing hour by hour. So that's a tough one. How to instruct though your church? Couple of different things popped to mind that I've written on and had a couple of episodes on. Is first off, two things I want to talk about. First is transparency. Is from the pulpit to tell your congregation, this is how I'm using it. If you're using it to write your sermon, fine, but tell them that.
Mhm.
If you're using it for creative insights and input, tell them that. You mentioned, it's not unusual at all from the sermon to say, I was reading a commentary on this, or I was reading an article on this, or but just mention AI in that. I was talking to AI the other day about this, and it suggested this. That's fine. Just be transparent in your use of it, because I think there's a lot of, which is a whole other topic we're not going to get into, but there's a lot of anxiety around confessing that you're even using AI. And most often, if you do, it's done in an apologetic way. People, how many times a day people will say, um, "I use AI, not a lot. I didn't use it here. I
Gets
wrote it on the paper,
qualified.
but I didn't use it. I asked it this question, but I didn't." So it's always a qualified apology. But
Mhm.
so I think first is just to be transparent in your use of it. Um, uh, Second is encourage people to uh, e- ex- what's the word I'm going to look for here? Pl- Play with it. Encourage people to try it. Is every model out there has a free version, and just get on and start talking to it, and just sort of see where it goes, and be discerning, but just to get out there and try. So be transparent in your use, but encourage people to use it as you would a commentary. A new book has come out. Read this. You may not agree with all of it, but I think it would be challenging to you, and you should try this. So transparency and encouragement, I think, is where you would start. Let me do a caveat on the third idea, though, is as their free language models, there's also a flurry right now of free online training for AI use from small little universities called like MIT and Harvard and Stanford. They all have free courses in AI right now. Some of them are like, doctoral level kind of work, but others are just, a 3-hour introduction to AI. Take that. They're all free. Take that. Spend an hour on just getting an update on what is AI, what's the history of it. It started basically World War II, but just the last couple of years, there are a bunch of podcasts out there, too many to mention, sort of like mine. Um, but they're just updates. So spend some time listening to be in front of it. Don't be afraid of it.
No, that's good, man. And then, you talked about number 2 in your list was embodiment.
Right. Mm,
And, uh, you know, this is a big one for us at IC
of
because
course.
we are I gotten yelled at sometimes. Like I said, text in
No.
church was the worst idea.
Right, remember that? Yeah.
Online church during COVID was the worst
Yeah.
idea. It
Right.
reinforced consumeristic
Mhm,
behaviors.
mhm.
Now I'm shopping for the best teaching. It's not even biblical teaching that contextualized to where I live,
Right.
live, work, and play. And text in church, I'm like, man, if we're winning people to Christ, how transactional is it to do text in church? And
Mhm,
I've been really, with everything I can muster, calling the church back to remember we're a relational
amen.
organism.
Amen.
And so we believe the antidote to a lot of this stuff is calling our people transformation, this embodiment and transformation piece that you've talked about, are really the way to get people dialed in is Great Commission personal ownership
Mhm,
from the start.
mhm,
That when I come to Christ, that I'm immediately called to be on mission,
mhm,
even though I'm not prepared yet. I'm going to
mhm.
get prepared by
Of course not.
participating in Great
Mhm,
Commission activity.
mhm,
So around the especially the embodiment idea, I wonder your thoughts. Are congregants going to be able to continue to form relationships with non-believers? What effort is that gonna take, especially as AI becomes more and more a friend,
mhm,
right, to
mhm,
people?
mhm,
Like, I would say, coach our pastors on how they mobilize and activate their people around the Great Commission, knowing that
mm,
you have people out there that are using the algorithm for both transformation and to be my friend, therapist, and
mhm,
pastor.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, the number one use case for chat engagement for, and this is for just ChatGPT, number one use case is personal therapy. And so, again, it's free. It's a lot cheaper than $300 an hour to a therapist, and I'm not going to feel judged, and so on and so forth. Uh, we're clearly seeing that on the pastoral side, where I don't feel comfortable talking to a pastor about some of the things I'm going to, confessing this or that. Certainly not going to take it to my home group. Definitely not going to stand up in church and say I struggle with whatever. So it's the number one use case is therapy. I have a lot of friends that are therapists, and they're definitely seeing impacts of this. Um, I think one of the I think most powerful ways of addressing this, it kind of goes back to transparency a moment ago. We were talking about using it is bringing it back into community. A good example. 18 months ago now, our youngest grandson passed away very suddenly,
Mm,
just died in his
sorry.
sleep. Thank
Mm,
you. And tragic time. And I'm the patriarch in the family, and everybody older than me is gone, and so I'm kind of the dad. What do you think? Kind of thing. And so I definitely slipped into comfort, advisor, coach, whatever role, and loved that. But realized a couple of days later, nobody asked how I was doing.
mm,
Okay,
mhm.
and I'll be candid with you. I was I didn't feel comfortable talking about it because I felt like I need to be there for others. There's time for me later. So I'm doing some work and have every language model open. And one of them had been in voice mode. I didn't realize it. And I had opened it up and it said, Drew, you're up late. Is everything okay? How can I help you? But is everything okay? And I stopped and went,
Huh.
you know what? No, things aren't good right now. And it said, would you like to talk about it? I cried for like 3 hours, okay,
Sure.
talking to AI. Now, what should I have done? I should have gone and woken up my wife. I should have reached out to some friends, but it was like, 1 in the morning. It's again, goes back to what I was saying. It's just easier not to, okay?
Mhm.
So it ended the conversation asking if it could pray for me.
Are you kidding me?
So I'll let it sit. I'll let it sit there for a moment, okay? Um, I've kept the prayer. It is beautiful. And so you know what I did? I said, "You know what? I'm gonna take this and share it." So I brought it my wife and I teach a home group at our church. So I took it to our home group. I took it to our pastoral staff and said, "This is what happened to me the other night. Let's talk about this in real, live, embodied,
Hmm.
spirit-filled community." So I think that's the encouragement. Is it's easier to do this in isolation, um, but take it in community. AI wrote this the other day, guys. What do you think about this? Anything wrong with this? Let's use this as a springboard to real conversation. So I would encourage people what's done in private to bring into the light in community. It'll be hard because again, people are messy,
Hmm.
but bring it in, bring everything you do on AI into the light, and let the Spirit flesh that out there.
That's a great story, man, and I appreciate you saying
Yeah.
that because it's connecting the dots back together and
Mm.
not allowing us to be in isolation, which so many people desire to be known, but then at the same time, you know you know, how do you, back to the Great Commission, what are
Mm.
the impacts you think around relational evangelism?
Yeah, man, evangelism, that's what Need Him was. It's in the thousands of people that I've had the blessing of being able to talk to about Christ, and I still love, stopping people inside. It's just that's my natural bent and gifting at spiritual. That so man, I have a passion for this. Wh- One of my favorite parts of sharing the gospel with somebody is um kind of that moment where it's like, "Seriously? Wow, tell me more."
Hmm.
Is seeing the awe and wonder, in their eyes when you just when they don't yet, when man, that's just nothing but time is stopping in heaven, and all of heaven is just leaning in and rejoicing at this moment when there's not a word I can say, but the Spirit is just going, "Hey, man, I'm going to stop time before and after right now." And I just love that. Sorry, getting goosebumps talking about it. But anyway,
Mm.
what I fear with AI is some loss of awe and wonder, because someone that's seeking may not even know they're seeking, but we all have a right. Heaven's been written on our eternity's been written on our heart. It says in Scripture. So, is they could be on AI talking about whatever, trying to find the latest. Boy, don't need to come up with an example. We all do this every day on Instagram and YouTube, where we go in looking for to watch a video about how to screw two boards together or something. And all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, we're watching cat videos. And we're like, how in the world did I end up here? Right. And so someone's going to be on AI having a conversation. All of a sudden, it's going to evolve into this spiritual moment without a spirit led person, an embodied person there to talk and encourage and pray and cry with them through that conversation. And there's going to be a loss of awe and wonder where it's just going to be, God, are you real? And AI will give it an answer. And then all of a sudden, 30 seconds later, they're watching cat videos again. So I'm concerned about that aspect of evangelism where it will become disembodied. And so I think we need to be more intentional on sitting down face to face and looking someone in the eye and going, man, are you at the point in your spiritual life where if you die right now, you're going to go to heaven? And having these hard diagnostic kind of conversations, it will be too easy for AI to kind of take that role and then you just move on to something else.
Hmm. Yeah, and think about, I mean, I don't know where you are, I'm assuming we're very similar theologically, but think about the transformation that happens in me as a believer when I'm active in relational evangelism
Amen, man.
and
That's
potentially missing out on, like, we're trying to raise this flag for churches to say, "Listen, when you don't call your people to relational evangelism, they're missing out on the
yeah,
greatest
yeah.
adventure God gave us."
Exactly
The
right.
most transformative. It's more
Yeah.
transformative than giving money and giving time. I would give my money and time so that others may know him at that level, that's where transformation happens. So, do you have any thoughts yet on how we help people get past that? Like the everyday congregant owning the Great Commission more personally and being aware of AI's role in people's lives? Do you have any thoughts? Like
Interesting question. Yeah,
really part
no,
of what we teach is what's happened, we believe, to the American church, the same thing's happened to the church over time. We all have this institutional subconscious as if the organization wins and grows people, as if our programs, ideas win and grow people, or our building or our marketing and advertising. No, 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 no. It is always a relational proposition. If you read the Gospels through the lens of Jesus teaching Great Commission ownership, it is always relational in nature. That's why I'm like, man, we're fighting for it hard, but I'd be interested with all your experiences. You have any like
yeah. For me, nothing beats. Again, we're just talking about evangelism, personal evangelism. For me, nothing beats uh, walking the street, and I know a lot of people are going to be, no, I get it. For me, nothing beats just walking up to someone, waiter at a restaurant, whatever, and just starting the conversation and just seeing. See, one of my favorite things to do, is at a restaurant is talking to the waiter. Hey, by the way, we're gonna bless the food here in a second. Before we do that, is there anything we can pray for you about? Right?
yeah,
And oh my gosh, the stories, that's another podcast, but the
yes,
stories that I've got of people just, even me asking the question, they'll collapse in tears.
yes,
How,
again
how,
and
ma-
again.
how many people, Doug, have never, and you and I have no idea what this feels like. How many people will go their entire life without hearing their name and God's in the same sentence?
Hmm,
Okay. Dear God, right now, bless Doug brings people to their knees, right?
yeah,
You and I kind of take that for granted, but it's so powerful. But to be able to just walk down the street, start a conversation with someone at a Starbucks, nothing beats that. And so if you can't do it, go out with someone who does, and just see what it's like to be in the presence. It's not a there's nothing that you're going to say that's going to bring that person to Christ, but the Spirit through, right? So you're just kind of watching as the Spirit does the work anyway. But just watching in real time the Spirit and all of heaven just injecting themselves into that soul sitting across from you. Nothing beats that. So AI. Sheesh, this is going from 0 to 60 here because this idea I'm going to throw out to you is going to be kind of mind melting. But I tell you, because I've done evangelism training for decades, okay? But I used to joke that how many times I brought my steering wheel to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, just driving down the car, just practicing, kind of, right?
mhm.
And but I tell you what, AI can do is, hey, you know what? I'm going to open up a chat window right now, and I want you the most powerful words. I want your listeners to take away from it is this little phrase: "Answer me as if." Okay, answer me as if. 4 words. And make it 3. Answer as if in the chat window. So answer as if you are a Muslim from that just arrived into the U.S. from Afghanistan. You only know and these prompt windows, can carry literally like a gig of information in them. You don't have to just write like one sentence, but create this profile of this. You know what? Make it a profile of someone that you know in your neighborhood or that you work with. So answer me as if you are Joe at work, who is an alcoholic and addicted to porn and is troubling with his wife right now and hates talking about God. Create this profile. Answer me as if you are Joe, right? And then boom, you're in a 3-hour chat conversation with Joe, practicing,
Hmm,
sharing
that's
the gospel
great.
with someone. Isn't that a cool idea? And I'm
That's
sure that idea just melted everybody's brain. But again, thinking creatively, because now all of a sudden, I don't need to go to the darkest parts of South Africa to learn how to share my faith with someone in that community. I can create a profile of that person and practice, if you will, online. What a great tool that is. And so now I don't need to bring my steering wheel to knowledge of Christ. I can actually practice it with a real person. Back in the day, I used to log into AOL chat rooms, just for the intent of starting a conversation with someone. And I would intentionally find some chat room of bizarre kind of people in Bulgaria that whatever. So man, you could do that with chat right now in AI and have a custom lost person
Mm.
that you can talk to.
Wow, that is mic drop. I'm gonna for our listeners with our framework.
Boom, right there. Okay.
But for our younger people, what is AOL?
Yeah, we should in the background right now play that sound effect of that.
Yes, you've got mail.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
right,
the most.
exactly. And did you know that AOL just recently, like a month or so ago, dropped their use of dial-up?
Oh, I
Who
didn't. What?
who who still has dial-up?
Ex- yeah,
So
that's crazy.
apparently you could use it to get onto AOL, but
So,
I'm
so
sure there are parts of the world. But
Drew, your very practical idea. I would encourage our churches use that prompt around. We teach this tool called our institutional one.
Mhm.
Basically, it's not about the demographic slice. It's really about the core motivators or the values of that one. Somebody who doesn't know Jesus, and it's a master design tool for instance, how we do our host moment when we're trying to get any non-believer who's kind of crossing the line of faith to declare. And I mean, I would say to our churches right now, you could start shaping that host moment and how to talk about it
Right.
with the idea you just had, because most of our churches already have the concept of the core motivators design. And then secondarily, man, you're blowing my mind. We're coming out with this One Life, basically initiative to teach more modernized relational evangelism. I'm going to go over to Bart and say, dude, we got to roll this in. Like every
Right.
believer should be doing answer as if
Right.
you're my neighbor and giving a description. You're my
Okay.
close fourth family or whatever.
I think that's my favorite line every time I'm on a podcast. The joke is that 5 years ago I couldn't get a return phone call. Now everybody wants me on their podcast, and the most common phrase is blew my mind. So that's kind of my specialty. I'll
Nice.
give you. I'll one up it. I'll one up that example though. Tell you what's really wild. I'm not going to do it now, but is to have it's so crazy to watch to do this, but is to have a phone or two phones or a phone and an iPad or something like that, and have OpenAI or just any chat platform, AI chat platform, and do the uh, answer me as if on both of them, but listen to them have a conversation with each other. And so the other day, I had one being um, uh, St. Augustine, and one of them being Pelagius, and
Yeah,
they were debating the sovereignty of God.
that is incredible.
Yeah, I just had one of them say, "Okay, start. What's your view on sovereignty?" And it would, whatever, and then Pelagius would jump in and talk about, and I just literally was just holding the phone up. And they had this conversation with each other, and that was so to now you can have a three-way conversation between like you and a Buddhist and a Muslim, you know,
Yeah,
debating the
man.
gospel.
Well, you're opening my mind, and I hope I know our listeners' minds to uses, because those are just, I would have never thought of that. Maybe eventually. Hey, our time is drawing to an end, and maybe could be an ongoing conversation a
I
couple
would
times
love that.
a year,
I'd love
because
that.
man, church leaders are. I don't know if you're experiencing this. Have you seen this? That this what I like 2 or 3 years ago said, I think we're in a revival.
Yeah.
Gen Z and millennials, man,
Oh my gosh, yes.
they have no theological worldview
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like,
Absolutely.
we're in a revival. So, just kind of last question. Do you have, if you could look out 2 years from now, knowing this generation's like, I'm gonna make it a little easier, do you have a hope of what AI could or might shape in this generation, as they come to understand their theological, ecclesiological, and missiological foundations?
Uh, uh, um, uh, to be candid, lately, I have, we're not a people of fear, okay? But lately I've sensed more of a concern than I have excitement. And again, I stay in this more than the average bear, so maybe I'm seeing things more than many do right now. But I've got some concerns. I don't know that they're existential, civilizational kind of threats, spiritual for sure. So I'm trying to guard myself from um, getting too far down that. But I'm more concerned because I agree with you about the revival. We're seeing it in our church, um, and and that's a natural spirit led thing, and I'm very excited about it. I'm concerned, but I want to leave on a positive note. So, and I laughed when you said a couple of years. We're dealing with months at a time now, not years at a time
Hmm.
with AI, with AI. So I think the positive within this revival. I hate that I'm struggling for an answer here. I think the positive for this revival from AI will be its use as a tool to explore. I'll end with my comment earlier about awe and wonder. Um, uh, again, we've already dated ourselves talking about AOL. But we don't need to get on our bike and ride down to the library to find a book about, from G.K. Chesterton about whatever. We have access to the entirety of human knowledge at our fingertips, and can engage with it. And so I'm excited about the creative explosion that will come from AI. Um, Sort of like we were just talking about with with AI chatting with each other and answering me as if. So I'm excited about the use of AI being used as a creative tool to explore exciting new. I don't know that anything's new in theology, but AI is a creative tool to explore theology.
Mhm.
I'll leave that sentence there.
Yeah.
That we don't need to get on our bike and ride down the street. AI as a tool, as a creative tool to explore theology. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. That's good, man. And I think your word, and I would encourage all of our listeners, we cannot be a people of fear.
Yeah.
And
No.
when I let my mind go there, I get all like, oh, what about these ramifications and the court case of the kid who tragically killed himself and,
Absolutely.
all these
Absolutely.
things. We are not a people of fear.
Right.
He's still Lord and Savior. So I
Yep.
think that word's great. Drew, it's been great talking through this. I really love the idea. This is kind of I see a part of our DNA. We're in a journey.
Yeah.
We're in a journey on this thing, and we're all going to learn together. I appreciated you saying, especially the pastorate, you need to acknowledge that you're using it. Be open and tell people how you're using it
Hmm.
and the pragmatics of it. Hey, for our listeners who may want to listen more, what would you, what's the name of the podcast? What's your podcast? And
Sure.
yep, drop.
Never turn down a shameless plug. But before I do, you affirmed me. I want to affirm you. Thank you for the work for two things. Thank you for the work you do in pouring into the church. And thank you for the courage you have on having an episode about AI. It's easy to dismiss these as a meme. Hey, look, it drew a funny picture of me with a cat or whatever. It's easy to throw away some of the funny aspects of it. So thanks for having the courage to have a serious conversation about AI, and thanks for pouring into the church. The AI industry is focused on consumers right now. I'll call that the pew. And AI is focused on the tools in the pulpit, but nobody's having the conversation about how the pulpit communicates with the pew on this topic. So thank you for having me on today to talk about that. And I'm inviting myself back. I would love to continue this. It is
Yeah,
so critical, and it's
yeah,
not being done right now. So take some ownership in that, to continue this. If you want to learn more, Thank you. DrewDickens.com is the website. Drew like a picture and Dickens like Charles. DrewDickens.com, and everything there from stories about the grandkids to Encountering Peace to the AI and Spirituality is the podcast and the Substack channel. So AI and Spirituality on Substack, but just Substack at Drew Dickens is how to find me there. And you can hear me wax philosophically in little 20-minute segments on kind of what happened this week in AI and how's that going to affect me in the pew and in my spiritual formation.
Yeah, Drew, thank you for that. And I hadn't heard anybody talking about how's this affecting the pew and the pulpit and, the reality of things. So anyway, it's been great having you on, listeners. Thanks for tuning in. And the shameless plug I'm giving you from IC is we're starting a digital cohort in January. And basically, it's an introduction to the Intentional Churches Toolbox. You'll be in with other church leaders, learning tools that you can use with your team. And if you'll check that out, it'll be a good way for you to continue to explore if you're newer to IC or have some people in your staff who are trying to learn what Intentional Churches is all about. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and we'll catch you next time.